Here we go. Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. My name is Chase Sr., and as always, no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. Coming up, a much-anticipated Super Bowl 59 preview as the Philadelphia Eagles look to end the Kansas City Chiefs' quest for a three-peat in New Orleans in 2 Sundays. The stage is set at the Superdome in the Big Easy. Super Bowl 59 going down on Sunday, February 9th. Kickoff set for 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. The Chiefs, 1.5-point favorites, but I expect that line to fluctuate in the lead up to kickoff because the sharps are going to get involved. Some of the betting degenerates are obviously going to alter the market as well. And the over-under, 49.5, pretty high, but that's to be expected when you have Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and all of the offensive skill talent on the Eagles roster. The jersey matchup also official. The Eagles will be rocking their home midnight green jerseys, midnight green helmets with their white pants, and the Chiefs in their road whites. The Eagles have made it to 4 Super Bowls all time, 1980, 2004, 2017 and 2022, they have never worn a white jersey in the Super Bowl. So 1-3 all time in Super Bowl matchups when wearing the midnight green. The Chiefs, the only time that they've worn their road whites in a Super Bowl matchup, they beat Philadelphia 2 seasons ago. Before we continue to press forward here with the best Eagles-Chiefs preview that you will find here on YouTube, because we're going to give you so much insightful information and really inform you, be sure to hit that subscribe button right here on Philadelphia Eagles Now for a multitude of reasons. If you want daily and year-round coverage of the Birds, we got you covered. We will also be in New Orleans bringing you great Super Bowl coverage, interviews with Eagles players, Chiefs players, coaches, other NFL players, media celebrities, all that and a whole lot more. We'll be doing shows from Radio Row. And over the last month, Eagles Now has set a record for the most subscribers picked up in a single month, with 8,500 real ones hitting that sub button. And Eagles Now is hot, as many of you know. We're north of 105,000 subscribers here on the channel. And of course, we will be live like we always are for every Eagles game for a Super Bowl 59 watch party. As for how the Eagles got here, 14-3 in the regular season, won the NFC East for the second time in 3 years, and they got the number 2 seed in the conference. In the wild card round, a little bit sloppy on offense, dominant effort defensively. They still beat the Green Bay Packers 22-10. 28-22 win over the Rams in the divisional round as the run game led by Saquon Barkley popped off. The Eagles defense was once again really good. Game came down to the final play, but Vic Fangio's unit once again was able to rise up to the occasion. Legendary snow game at Lincoln Financial Field. And then, as I predicted in the NFC Championship game, after the Eagles had played a D game offensively against Green Bay, a C game offensively against the Rams, I thought that they were going to come forward with a B+ A game, and I thought Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, after they had struggled to gain a connection in the first 2 playoff games, were going to play really well and put up good performances. The Eagles did that. Hurts did that. A.J. Brown did that. Saquon Barkley was once again dominant and Superman, and the Eagles defense stopped Jaden Daniels and that potent Commanders offense. A 55-23 win over their division rival to get us here. And throughout the playoffs, the Eagles have really had a well-rounded effort with this well-rounded team led by Nick Sirianni, Howie Roseman, and Jeffrey Lurie. And that's a big reason why they're playing in their second Super Bowl in 3 years. As for the Kansas City Chiefs, we can flip the page there. 15-2 in the regular season with their starters playing, only lost 1 game. The second loss came in Week 18 when they didn't play any of their starters against the Denver Broncos. The Chiefs, once again, winning the NFC West, got home field advantage in the number 1 seed in the conference. In the divisional round, took down a feisty Texans team 23-14 at Arrowhead. And then in another classic between the Chiefs and the Bills, 32-29, Kansas City won in the AFC Championship game. It was the first time all season that the Chiefs have scored more than 30 points in a game. They picked the right time to do that. Their defense got clutch stops when they needed to. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, of course, are very special, and the Steve Spagnuolo defense is for real. And, of course, on that Kansas City coaching staff, a lot of Eagles ties led by Andy Reid and Spags. This is, of course, a rematch of Super Bowl 57 in Glendale, Arizona. Chat Sports and Eagles Now, myself, we were in Arizona all throughout that week. I was very confident that the Eagles were going to be able to win that game. The Chiefs able to edge Philadelphia and hold on to win. And at that time, that was their second Super Bowl of the Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes era that started this now quest for a three-peat. One of the lasting images of that loss for the Birds, Jalen Hurts walking off the field with Chiefs-colored confetti falling. That has been the background on his iPhone for quite some time. At least it was in 2023. Now Hurts is back there and has an opportunity to slay the dragon. Another lasting image of that defeat, the James Bradbury hold on Juju Smith-Schuster. If that penalty was not called, and I don't think it should have been called, Harrison Butker would have come out for a field goal, and that Eagles offense, which dropped 35 points and was unstoppable in that game, led by Jalen Hurts, who had nearly 400 yards of total offense, would have had an opportunity to either tie the game with a field goal or win the game with a touchdown. Let's look back at the numbers of that Super Bowl 57 game. It was one of the more epic Super Bowls that we have seen in recent memory. The Chiefs winning by 3, final score 38-35, and Philadelphia outplayed Kansas City in a lot of different areas here. They outgained the Chiefs 417 yards to 340. Philadelphia was nearly flawless on third downs, 11 of 18. The Chiefs 4 of 8. Jalen Hurts threw for 302 passing yards. Patrick Mahomes only threw for a $182. And I thought Hurts outplayed Mahomes in that game. Philadelphia ran for 115 yards, a big story. The Chiefs running for a $158. And that really wore down the Eagles' defense and provided Kansas City with a lot of momentum-altering plays in that game. But because Philadelphia had the ball so much, they won time of possession by over 11 minutes. 35-47, 24-13. If you look at those numbers, you would have thought, oh yeah, Philadelphia wins that game. But there were other keys to that Chiefs victory. The Chiefs' running attack, Patrick Mahomes only had 1 second-half incompletion, as him and Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, made some really good second-half adjustments. The only incompletion in the second half after recess for Mahomes was on a throwaway. And so Andy Reid and Mahomes thoroughly outcoached and outplayed Jonathan Gannon and his defense. And yeah, the Eagles did run for more than 100 yards, but their running backs only had 47 rushing yards. The rest was Hurts. And Kansas City's special teams were huge. Their red zone play calling and execution was also massive. The big one, and I think whoever wins the turnover battle in this game lifts up the Lombardi Trophy. The Chiefs won the turnover battle 1-0. And the one turnover for Philadelphia was the huge one, in addition to the bad back-breaking special teams plays. And that was when Jalen Hurts got strip-sacked by Nick Bolton, scoop and score touchdown. That touchdown proved to be big for KC. The Eagles also led the NFL in 2022 with 70 sacks. That was 15 more than any other team. They had 0 in the Super Bowl. Now, anytime you talk about Kansas City in general, regular season or playoffs, you always have to factor in that sometimes the whistle sides with Kansas City. I thought that there were some holding calls that the Eagles didn't get in that game. They should have been able to generate more of a pass rush on Patrick Mahomes. And the slick surface did not help out the strength of that Eagles team, which was getting sacks on the quarterback. Going to be a lot of conversations about Jalen Hurts going into this game. A lot of casuals will say, Jalen Hurts, he can't beat a Steve Spagnuolo defense. He's been carried up to this point. Well, how about how he played in the NFC Championship game? He was great. On non-throwaways, he was 20 of 24, and he accounted for 4 total touchdowns. Hurts in Super Bowl 57 against Steve Spagnuolo, 27 of 38, 304 yards, 4 total touchdowns and a pick, couple of dime balls downfield. The touchdown to A.J. Brown was a beauty, couple of huge third down conversions to DeVonta Smith and Dallas Goedert, made plays happen with his legs, 15 carries, 70 yards, and I think people should start trusting Jalen Hurts in some of these really, really big games. What decided Super Bowl 57, that could decide Super Bowl 59, the Eagles' mistakes. When you go up against Kansas City, and even though Philadelphia is better everywhere except for head coach, quarterback, and I put it a wash at defensive coordinator between Spags and Vic Fangio, but when you play a team that's so cool, calm, and collected, that always makes the big play, that is used to being in these pressure cooker spots, that does such a good job of executing down the stretch and thriving in these close games, it makes the margins and the margin for error razor, razor thin. That's why the Chiefs won close. That's why the Eagles lost. But I do think that the Eagles can beat the Chiefs. Here are plenty of reasons why. Philadelphia is the deeper, talented, more complete team. Philadelphia has the talent, the ability, and the proof that they can dominate both sides of the line of scrimmage with their offensive line and their defensive line. That's how you win football games, at the point of attack in the trenches. Can you control things there and win your matchups? The Eagles also have a defense that is built to stop Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. It's the number one defense in the NFL. They're good against the run, good against the pass. They're well coached. They fly to the ball. They tackle pretty well, and they're sound on all three levels. And with that offensive line, Saquon Barkley has had a legendary season, a threat to hit a home run at any time. And when you find success on the ground, you milk the clock, you wear teams down, and you keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline. And that's going to be big in this game as well. I also think that when you compare this Eagles team back to that 2022 team, they are better. They are more experienced. And Vic Fangio, his defense, and him as a defensive play caller is better than Jonathan Gannon. And it's not close. If the Eagles can get the NFC Championship game Jalen Hurts, they become multiple as an offense. And even with Spags, they become very difficult to beat. I thought it was pretty notable how Marlon Humphrey, an all-world cornerback for the Baltimore Ravens, said in the lead-up to and after the NFC Championship game, I thought the Eagles were the best team that we played all year. The Ravens played the Bills. The Ravens played the Chiefs. So when the Eagles are diverse on offense, playing up to their standard on both sides of the ball, they are very difficult to stop. The Eagles are also a disciplined and well-coached football team, and I love their bully ball physicality type of identity because they can wear teams down throughout the course of a ball game. They, like Kansas City, can win close. Of course, we're going to be monitoring the injuries of Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson at center and left guard because if they are hobbled, hurt, or can't play, that could really sway a lot of my thoughts for this game, a lot of the betting lines, and sway who could win Super Bowl 59. When I scout the Chiefs, really is unbelievable how good they are late and in close games. They have won 17 straight one-score games. At times they've gotten lucky, no doubt about it. At times they've gotten a beneficial whistle, but give credit where credit is due because they execute and make the big plays time and time again, routinely. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, what a special trio. Arguably the best head coach, quarterback, defensive coordinator trio that we've ever seen in the history of the NFL. They always seem to make the big play, and that's on both sides of the ball and on special teams. They're like a boa constrictor. They just suffocate you. And one thing the Eagles can't do in this game that they did not do against the Patriots in 2017, play scared. Call the game scared. Be timid. Eagles have to go all in here. They didn't have that fear against the Patriots. They can't have that fear against Kansas City. But you can sense when teams take the field against Kansas City, they feel and act inferior. With Steve Spagnuolo, Eagles have to be ready for those exotic and creative blitzes. This defense, called by Spags, truly elite, led by Chris Jones, one of the most dominant players in all of football. The Chiefs defense, too, is also very good in short yardage and against the run. They stopped the Josh Allen quarterback sneaks on a couple of big plays in the AFC Championship game. They're also top 10 in yards per rush allowed, rushing yards per game allowed. They also tackle very well. The Eagles have to be cognizant of this sneaky Patrick Mahomes run game. He's quick. He's physical. Teams act scared to hit him because he's baited players into penalties. Eagles can't approach this game in that way. I will say this Chiefs team, the running back wide receiver talent is very average. But to beat Kansas City, sometimes it doesn't matter. You have to win on the margins. We are only starting to take flight here for our Super Bowl 59 preview on Eagles Now. If you're enjoying the show, still watching, give me a real one down in the comments section. Also, in the meantime, as you venture down there, let me know who you got. Super Bowl 59 predictions. KC for the Chiefs, PHI for the Eagles. Let me know. And on the other side, key matchups to watch and what the Eagles must do to be victorious in New Orleans. But first, our sponsor for our preview, our friends and our partners at Game Time, the best app that there is when it comes to buying tickets. And it's not just an app for sporting events, by the way. You can go to concerts, comedy shows, theater events, and a whole lot more. If you're going down to New Orleans for the Super Bowl, download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, and you'll get $20 off. Terms apply. First purchase only. I love the user interface and experience of the Game Time app because you can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Thanks to a new feature called Game Time Picks, you also don't have to waste time going through thousands of tickets. Game Time will find the best seats for you. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use that code CHATSPORTS. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Prices drop as the event gets closer. We'll put all of that information down below in the comment section and in the description of today's Philadelphia Eagles Now. So let's reset here a little bit because what I want to do next is get to my keys to the game for the Eagles to be victorious and matchups to watch. This is Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. My name is Chase Sr., and coming up, how the Eagles can beat Kansas City and end their quest for a three-peat. The top matchups to watch in this game, it is a loaded matchup between Kansas City and Philadelphia. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, the best offensive-minded head coach of this era and the best quarterback of this post-Tom Brady era against one of the finer defensive minds in football and in football history in Vic Fangio. You also have Steve Spagnuolo, who's right up there with Vic Fangio, and that matchup with him calling plays, designing the defense, and throwing blitzes towards Kellen Moore, Jalen Hurts, and Nick Sirianni is a huge key and matchup to this game because Moore, Hurts, and Sirianni have to be ready for what Spags is going to do. The Eagles' interior defensive line is a strength of that Eagles defense. Well, guess what? Jalen Carter, Milton Williams, Moro Ajomo, Jordan Davis, they're really, really good players. But the Chiefs' interior offensive line is also fantastic. Ever since the Chiefs lost to the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl a few years ago, the Chiefs have done a great job of bulking up the offensive line, knowing we have to keep Patrick Mahomes clean. And the only way we can pretty much lose is if there's a pass rush that is generated on Mahomes, and if there is an interior rush, which muddies up the pocket and blurs the sight line of Mahomes. The Eagles' interior offensive line against the Chiefs' interior defensive line, led by Chris Jones. These injuries for Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson loom large, and Chris Jones makes big play after big play, and he can take over games by his lonesome. And then you have Travis Kelce, who's slowed down a little bit. He's definitely past his prime, but he rises up to the occasion in big games. Zack Baun, all-pro linebacker this year, finalist for Defensive Player of the Year, one of the highest-graded coverage linebackers in the game. The matchup between Baun and Kelce, who wins it? But you know that Andy Reid and Mahomes are going to try to find ways to get Kelce matched up against Oren Burks. You have the young Eagles defensive backs, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, rookies in a big spot against the Chiefs' speedy wide receivers in Marquise Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy. The Eagles' edge rushers against Joe Thuney. Joe Thuney is a guard. He's playing left tackle because the Chiefs don't have a tackle. Can the Eagles take over the game from that edge spot on the offensive left side of the line of scrimmage? Dave Taub, he is the Chiefs special teams coordinator, arguably the best in the business, against Michael Clay, whose special teams career as a coordinator with the Eagles was a little bit rocky. In 2022, he had some special teams lapses with his unit, But in 2023 and in 2024, a young coach has done a good job with that third phase of the game. But you have the veteran against a still young coach, and something as small as a big special teams momentum-changing play can alter the outcome and the final scoreboard here. So Taub against Michael Clay is big. Jake Elliott against Harrison Butker. Jake the Make has not been Jake the Make this year. Throughout his career, he has been a legendary and clutch kicker. This year, anything but. Multiple misses throughout the regular season and in the playoffs. He's had one kick split the uprights of 50-plus yards. Then you have Butker, who is 11 of 11 in the fourth quarter and in overtime in his last 11 playoff attempts. And then Saquon Barkley against this Chiefs rushing defense. We have seen all year long and in the playoffs why Saquon should have won MVP. It's not going to be him. It's going to be Lamar or Josh Allen. But that is what an MVP player looks like. And this Chiefs rushing defense has been really good, but which special ends up winning? Hopefully for the Eagles, it's Saquon. There is a reason why these two teams are here. This is a star-studded matchup with great matchups from coaching to offense, defense, and special teams. And with that, let's segue to this. How the Eagles stack up offensively and defensively, and how the Chiefs fare as well. Eagles offensively this season, 7th in points per game, 9th in yards per game, 10th on third downs, 3rd on fourth downs, 21st in the red zone. Got to be a little bit better there against the 10th ranked Chiefs red zone defense. The Eagles defense, number 1 overall unit in the NFL this year. Number 1 in points per game, number 1 in yards per game, 9th on third downs, 22nd on fourth downs. That could go a long way in deciding this game. And then 5th in the red zone. Also with Philadelphia, they did a really good job of limiting Jaden Daniels. They beat Jaden Daniels, Matthew Stafford, and Jordan Love en route to the Super Bowl. That's a pretty tough road, and the Eagles defense shined. How the Chiefs stack up. Pretty mediocre offense across the board statistically, but still 12th in points per game, but 19th in yards per game, 22nd in yards per play, number 3 on third downs. They consistently move the chains in money spots, and 22nd with their red zone touchdown scoring percentage. Defensively, Kansas City, 4th in points per game, not far behind Philadelphia there, 10th in yards per game, 12th in yards per play. They are 28th on third down. So another big key to this game, third downs for both teams. But Kansas City does do a good job, despite struggling on third downs, of keeping teams out of the end zone. And so with that, my 5 biggest keys to the game for the Eagles to bring home their second Lombardi trophy so that we can have another parade down Broad Street. First and foremost, the Eagles have to find success on the ground. This could set the tone for Super Bowl 59. The Chiefs' defense this year, they ranked 9th in yards per rush allowed at 4.2 yards per pop, 9th in rushing yards per game at 106.7. Really good against the run, statistically just okay against the pass. Opposing completion percentage, 65.9%, that ranked 19th. Yards per pass, 7.1, that was 17th. And passing yards per game, 220.6, that was 19th. Despite Kansas City faring well in stopping the run, the Buffalo Bills, I don't think in the AFC Championship game, ran it enough. Buffalo had a lot of success against Kansas City in running it. And while James Cook is one of the more underrated players in football, he ain't Saquon Barkley. And the Bills' offensive line is not the Eagles' offensive line. Buffalo ran it 32 times for a $147, 4.6 yards per tote, 2 touchdowns. James Cook only had 13 carries, but 85 yards, 6.5 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns. And look at what Saquon's been able to do in the NFL playoffs, ladies and gentlemen. MVP level stuff right here. Against Green Bay, 25 carries, a $119, no touchdowns. Against the Rams, he pops off 26 attempts for 205 yards and 2 tutties. And then against the Commanders, 15 carries, 118 yards, and 2 more touchdowns. So success on the ground really sets the tone. It gets this Eagles offense going and very confident. It gets this Eagles offensive line moving downhill. It keeps the ball away from Patrick Mahomes. Philadelphia has the talent edge on Kansas City. So can they wear the Chiefs down over the course of 60 minutes and 4 quarters? That's how you can win this game partially. And Saquon's home runs, It's like he's going off for one every single week. He's done it all year. Momentum-changing scoring plays. Key to the game number 2. The Eagles have to be prepared for the confusing, complex, creative, and exotic blitzes from Steve Spagnuolo. You can know that pressure is coming because the Chiefs load up the line of scrimmage and they load the box, but he gets so creative with these twists, stunts, delays, all of these different designs and iterations that he finds a way to have a free corner blitz coming, and then the quarterback has to get rid of it, and he makes an errant throw. The Chiefs blitz 35.6% of the time. That is 5th in the NFL, and on crucial downs, he's going to bring the house. Jalen Hurts historically has struggled against the blitz. Against Washington, he was awesome. Keys to the Eagles' passing game here. Kellen Moore, Nick Sirianni, and Jalen Hurts, in their game planning preparations, have to come up with answers against the blitz and those confusing looks. Because sometimes Spags will fake the blitz, where there's a lot of bodies around the line, they'll drop people back, and sometimes you can bait quarterbacks into throwing a pick. What I liked what the Eagles did against Washington, knowing that Dan Quinn was going to send pressure, was creative play calls and play designs from Kellen Moore that we hadn't seen all year. Pop pass to DeVonta Smith, end around to Dallas Goedert, getting Jalen Hurts out on the run because he's comfortable throwing it on the move, but getting the ball out quickly. The offensive line protections will be paramount against Kansas City. And I hope that Jalen Hurts can repeat that Commanders performance. He's certainly capable of doing it. We've seen it time and time again. Can he do it 2 times in a row? And you know what the way to slow down the blitz is? Run the ball. If the Chiefs send the house, delayed handoff out of the shotgun, you get your blockers downfield out in front to that 2nd and 3rd level, it could be another home run for Saquon. This is what I need Hurts to do against Kansas City. What he did against Washington, where he completed 71.5% of his passes, 246 yards through the air, 4 total touchdowns, no picks, a passer rating of 110.1. Against Green Bay, he accounted for 2 touchdowns. Against the Rams, he kept the ball out of harm's way once again. Against the Commanders, he accounted for 4 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts has not turned the football over at all in the playoffs. He has to have a clean sheet in this game. Key to the game number 3. Pressure Patrick Mahomes and have disciplined pass rush lanes. You also have to be aware of the quarterback keeper on the read option, the RPO, or design quarterback rollout and run for Mahomes. Also, what Andy Reid will do a lot, he will roll Mahomes to his throwing side. He will layer routes to give Mahomes throwing options, but a running option. And so often he does this on 3rd and 4th downs, where he has Mahomes out on that sprint out, and you're trying to cover the flat, but he has the speed to get the edge. Good agility and mobility and physicality with how he runs in finding success on the ground. But also, if you don't have disciplined pass rush lanes, Mahomes will see that gap. He'll see that sliver of daylight, and he'll take off, and some of those plays are back-breaking plays. It crushed the Eagles in Super Bowl 57. There is a formula to beating Patrick Mahomes. We saw it in 2020. The Buccaneers team with Tom Brady at quarterback, Todd Bowles as defensive coordinator, really special Buccaneers defense. They had a Super Bowl record 29 pressures against Mahomes. The Bucs also got pressure with only 4 guys on 16 of 46 pass rushing snaps. And so the interior rush for Philadelphia will be key. Disciplined pass rushing lanes will be huge. Generating pressure with 4 and not having to blitz could win the Eagles this game too. And I know that the Chiefs offensive line was banged up that year, no doubt about it. But their offensive tackle play, I think, is a little bit sketchy with Joe Thuney and Jawan Taylor. Now, Caliendo, Creed Humphrey, and Smith along the interior are really, really good interior offensive linemen for Kansas City. They have found ways to survive not having great tackle play. But you look at this young Eagles front outside of Josh Sweat, which is loaded with special players and talent. Nolan Smith has 4 sacks. in the playoffs. Milton Williams has been awesome in rushing the quarterback. Jordan Davis had that big sack of Jane Daniels last week. He's 6'6", 340, and he ran him down. Jalen Carter is up there with Chris Jones, two of the most dominant overall football players in the game, and Josh Sweat is a really good edge rusher. Can this Eagles defensive line win their matchup against Kansas City? They did not do that in 2022. 70 sacks in the regular season, no sacks in the Super Bowl. If that happens again and history repeats itself, the Eagles will not win. They have to get to Patrick Mahomes and make his night a long one. Key to the game number 4. All eyes for this Eagles defense have to be on Travis Kelce at all times, especially on 3rd down, 4th down, and in the red zone. Yes, he is slowed down a bit, but he comes up huge in clutch games. He has another gear once the postseason comes around, and he has this innate ability alongside Patrick Mahomes to make the big play. He's his right-hand man, and sometimes you feel as though Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce have eyes in the back of their head because they always find a way to link up. But if you take Travis Kelce away, I really think this Chiefs' offensive skill talent is pretty average. Marquise Brown is not a complete wide receiver. He's a speed threat. Xavier Worthy has really had an impressive rookie season, but at times, he's a gadget guy. He doesn't have every route to his route tree like a DeVonta Smith or an A.J. Brown. He's that vertical weapon, and Andy Reid will get creative with finding ways to get him the football on bubble screens, jet sweeps, and reverses to utilize that speed. And they'll also try to draw up some vertical shots. Juju Smith-Schuster would be washed for any other team, but of course he's doing a fine job with Kansas City, but the Eagles can shut him down, and then the Chiefs are going to go with the running back rotation, whoever has the hotter hand. But Kareem Hunt is old, doesn't give the Chiefs explosive runs. Isaiah Pacheco runs hard, but that ankle injury I think has slowed him down a little bit. Samaje Perine, not a bad 3rd down back or a 3rd option, but he doesn't scream special by any means. But this is what happens when you have such a great play designer and play caller in Andy Reid and such an elite quarterback in Patrick Mahomes. You load up that defense, you improve on the offensive line, and then the special quarterback and special head coach are able to make it work. I also want to pop this back up, and we've talked about this here on the show a few times. When Dre Greenlaw went out in the Super Bowl for the Niners last year, Oren Burks came in, and when he was matched up against Travis Kelce, he was targeted 9 times, gave up 9 catches, a touchdown, allowed a passer rating of 134.7, and had a Pro Football Focus coverage grade of 32.1. Reid and Mahomes and Kelce will look to target Burks and try to get Kelce matched up on him. Vic Fangio has done a really good job of putting Burks in a position to succeed, and he's made some really big plays for the Eagles here during the playoffs. The huge hit on Nixon on the opening kickoff to force the fumble, the batted down pass on Matthew Stafford in the divisional round, and then the peanut punch on Austin Eckler. Oren Burks, I need you to do it again, my man. Key to the game number 5. The Eagles have to play clean and make the big plays. If this game is close, whichever team does not turn the ball over and whichever team comes through in the clutch spot has such a better chance of raising the Lombardi Trophy to see that team's colored confetti fallen from the sky. The Eagles are up in the turnover battle in the playoffs, 10-0 defense and special teams. The Chiefs, on the other hand, have won 17 straight one-score games. And the little things are really going to add up in this ball game. When there are opportunities to seize momentum, the Eagles have to capitalize on those opportunities. They did it against Washington after they missed out on that opportunity early, but they let the Rams and Packers hang around. If there's an opportunity at a knockout blow, Eagles must come through with the Mike Tyson uppercut to the chin. You can't let the Chiefs hang around because if it's a close game, they are uber confident they're going to be able to win. The Eagles are also going to have to win the money downs and the turnover battle. They can't give up the special teams play. They're going to have to tackle well in space. Kansas City does that. Philadelphia's going to have to do it as well. And I want the Eagles to be aggressive, and they can't fear Kansas City. One of the most memorable things about that Super Bowl 52 victory when the Eagles dethroned Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, denying them their second straight Super Bowl, Doug Peterson was aggressive. The Eagles did not play scared. The Eagles took the field to dreams and nightmares, and they felt as though they had a chance to win, and they believed that they had a chance to win. Other teams play Kansas City. They don't believe that they are on a level playing field with them. They feel inferior. Then they play and they coach scared. Dog mentality all the way, and the Eagles have to play fast, physical, clean ball. Patrick Mahomes is 8-0 against Vic Fangio in his career. He has fared well in those games in the win-loss column. 10 touchdowns, 2 picks. But the Chiefs' overall EPA per play in those games against Vic Fangio is lower than the season average. And when Vic Fangio was the head coach of the Denver Broncos, that's when Mahomes had Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, and they had more skill talent on the offensive side of the football. Of course, it comes down to this too. Will Kansas City be able to do it again? Will they be able to pull magic out once again? They are unbelievable in close games, and with situational football, they are 17-1 with their starters playing this year. Their lone loss on the road against Buffalo, but their win probability has been less than 30% in 7 of those games. So sometimes the ball bounces their way. Sometimes the officiating calls do favor Kansas City. It's not taking anything away from them. They're so special, and they deserve credit for all of the success that they've had. But the ball has bounced their way, and they've gotten some beneficial calls from time to time. The data and the analytics back that up. What's also notable is that this Chiefs defense since week 8, pretty long sample size, is 21st ranked in the NFL with that defense. And then offensively, they can't really generate explosive runs or deep passes. And that's why I think this matchup could favor the Eagles. So I want you to predict the score. Kansas City Chiefs, Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl 59. Who you got, and be precise with it. And give me a score prediction down in the comment section. And now it's time for the drum roll. My prediction. The Eagles back in 2017 beat Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. The Eagles here during the 2024 season, flipping the calendar to 2025, can beat Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. It is not going to be easy. The margin for error is going to be razor thin. The Eagles are going to have to play nearly a perfect game. They're going to have to do all of the little things right. And even though Kansas City is better at quarterback and head coach, I do believe that the Eagles' talent can carry them to a victory. Nick Sirianni can't coach scared. He's going to have to manage the game well. Jalen Hurts is going to have to play well. The Eagles' offense is going to have to be multiple. They're going to have to generate explosive plays in the air, convert on 3rd and 4th downs, convert in the red zone. The difference between a touchdown and 3 in the red area is going to be huge. They're going to have really good pass protection. They're going to have to run the ball like they've been able to run it all year long. Defensively, they're going to have their coverages tidied up. They can't have scheme and coverage breakdowns and confusion. They're going to have to generate a pass rush, sack Mahomes, and win the turnover battle. They're going to have to win on special teams. If the Eagles do those things, I think they win 31-29. They bring their second Lombardi trophy back to Philadelphia, and then we get to see another parade coming down Broad Street. I need it. I think it happens, so let's fucking do it.